Ready to go to Mars? Today I'll be sharing with you the story of Indian space program that goes right back to 1960s under the vision of great physicist Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. His vision of using space technology to solve the problems of man and society. But then it was not an easy task for him to convince the government of the day about the relevance of the space program for a developing nation. Eventually, with all his possible efforts, he succeeded in obtaining funds for the space program, and that was when the Indian space journey began. This was how those initial days looked like. A very humble beginning with extremely limited resources. In 1975, the India's first satellite, Aryabhatta, was launched. Later on, we continued our efforts to build much more advanced rockets and satellites, culminating into our first moon mission, Chandrayaan 1, which detected evidence of water on lunar surface. After this big achievement, our next step had to be our neighboring planet Mars. But why Mars? There are many unanswered questions about Mars. Is there any life on Mars? Is there water on Mars? Can you tell us something about Earth's past or Earth's future? It is believed that billions of years ago, when our planet was just a ball of molten iron, Mars seems to have an abundant amount of water and sufficiently thick atmosphere capable of sustaining life. But then, after a billion of years later on, when our planet grew to be nourishing for life, this planet lost all its favorable conditions. So data about Mars should help us to understand how that has happened. It will provide some answers to our queries. The next reason, to improve the quality of life on Earth itself. For example, a computer algorithm which was developed for one of the space programs when applied to the X-ray images did a better job at detecting the breast cancer, early stages of breast cancer than the conventional method. So this cross-pollination of fields like innovating in one and getting revolutionary changes in another, it happens all the times. And that undoubtedly improves the quality of life. The main reason, to inspire the next generation of space explorers who can contribute to the growth of a developing nation. And that is why the ISRO's next step towards this higher goal was mission to Mars. The most challenging part of Mars orbiter mission was completing this project in just 18 months of time without having any heritage in interplanetary mission, where the to and fro signal time can be of the order of 40 minutes. It is like if you want to switch on a bulb using a remote control, it will take 20 minutes for the signal to reach the bulb to make it on, and then 20 more minutes to confirm whether the bulb has come on or not. Such a huge time delay. What it meant? It meant we had to build an extensive amount of onboard autonomy. We had to build the systems capable of doing self-diagnostics, self-recovery, as well as executing all the loaded instructions with highest precision. Because any minutest error in executing those instructions would jeopardize the whole mission. And that is what has happened to many earlier missions of NASA, Russia, Japan, or China. Of 51 missions so far, only 21 succeeded. Success rate, less than 50%. And remember, no one could have done it at the first attempt. So we started working on it while the hardware that was adapted were taken from very previously successful missions. The onboard software, onboard autonomy software was almost a new venture for us. After a rigorous process of brainstorming sessions with all engineers, a network of autonomy was drafted with various levels of fault detection and recovery. Thousands of lines of codes were written on onboard computers, followed by extensive reviews and testing, and all this in mere 10 months of time. Something which looked to be very much impossible at the beginning could be achieved in record time. Almost all parts of MOM used were made in India. This picture shows the propulsion system where the liquid engine was adapted from one of our satellites, geosynchronous communication satellites, but those engines were perfected in performance in the deep space by extensive amount of testing. The next very important part of the satellite was the communication system. The communication systems have the antennas with very high sensitivity. They work as the ear of the spacecraft. And these antennas have to be tuned to respond at the distance of 200 to 400 million kilometers. So you can imagine that it is something like hearing a person's whisper across the soccer field. That is the sensitivity of these antennas. The next major obstacle or major challenge for MOM was to design a precise path, a main trajectory, which would take the spacecraft from Earth to Mars, but with minimum fill. So what happened, the next, another major obstacle we had to overcome at that time was the launch window, the time of launch. Actually, there is a particular geometry formed between Earth and Mars, which provides an opportunity to launch with minimum fill. But that happens only once in 26 months. So you can imagine we had to realize everything within that short span of time. Another obstacle to further minimize the fuel requirement, we found another way. It was like the PSLV rocket, when it takes off, it should inject the spacecraft not over India, but over Pacific near Australia. But then we did not have any ground stations or antennas to track the vehicle over the sea. We decided to deploy 2 ships, which would take 2 months of time to reach there. But then what happened? The ships could not reach on the expected dates. Due to the bad weather conditions, there was a huge storm over the sea. The ships got delayed by 10 days. We were racing against the time. Before the time was up, on 5th November 2013, our mighty PSLV successfully took off and put the spacecraft in its first parking orbit. The most unique part of MOM was, you can see its trajectory having multiple slingshots. And with each sling, with each burn, the distance from the Earth was increasing. 25 days later came the final maneuver when the spacecraft had to leave the Earth's gravity and start moving towards Mars. This is called cruising. And the direction of cruise is very important. It needs an exact and accurate performance of 99.9%. Actually, many missions failed at this phase. ISRO made history on 30th November 2013 itself, when MOM successfully left for cruise in its first attempt. To show how challenging it is to achieve the correct cruise direction, it is like as if going outside right now and hit a golf ball from here towards a hole located at Los Angeles. And the ball has to go straight into the hole and wait. To make it more challenging, the hole is moving. So after traveling 650 millions of kilometers in the cruise, the spacecraft made its closest approach to Mars. It was just 500 kilometers away. But then reaching near to Mars doesn't mean that we have achieved the mission. It should start rotating around the Mars. It means we need to give a thrust or a push to the spacecraft into the gravity well of Mars. This is called Mars orbit insertion. It is the most critical operation, one-time operation. If you miss it, you lose it. There is no second chance. And being the Deputy Operations Director, I, with my team, was responsible to ensure that this operation takes place as per the set configuration without the minutest anomaly. The D-Day arrived, 24th of September, 2014. At 7 a.m. IST early in the morning, we got the first signal from the spacecraft indicating the correct start of the auto sequence by the onboard computers. 21 minutes later, the main engine started firing. And that was the time when half of the success was ensured. 4 minutes later, the signal stopped. What happened? Actually, the spacecraft went behind the Mars, from where no signal could reach Earth. It was as if the time had stopped in the control center. All eyes were glued to the computer screen, waiting for the data to come back. For those 26 minutes, there was complete and utter silence in the control center. But then, at 8 a.m. IST, the history was made. The hall was erupted with jubilant cheers and loud claps. I could not believe I had become part of such an historic moment. Mom successfully entered Martian orbit with many firsts into its account. The first Mars mission in the world to succeed in its first attempt. The most economical interplanetary project in the world. The project got realized in the shortest time of 18 months. The first Indian satellite having full-scale onboard autonomy, and above all, this was the youngest team in ISRO that worked for this mission. Today, Mom is sending huge amount of data. It has opened up a new regime for space physicists to analyze the data and reveal some of the mysteries of Mars. I feel the major contribution of Mom can be seen in this letter by a young boy to ISRO, chairman of ISRO, where he expresses how proud he feels for India and he desires to be part of ISRO. While this mission has stirred inspiration into veins of every Indian student, it has created an awe and fervor towards science and technology in the whole country. The major contribution of the bigger mission of this Mom can be seen in empowering the 1.25 billion people and making them realize the inherent strength and power of Indians to reach a far planet and showing to the world we are second to none. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.